After a couple of horrible days in the Massif Central for the sprinters, they get their rewards today. In theory, a straightforward affair from Vichy to a finish in Nevers. It turned out to be hugely puzzling in all sorts of ways, and an explosive finale. Søren Varensholt made it another fantastic day at this year's Tour for Uno X and for Norway. Welcome to For the Love of Cycling, sponsored by Science in Sport, the fuel of choice for some of the leading riders at the Tour de France over the last 40 years. SIS developed the first specially formulated recovery drink, the first isotonic gel, and the first dual-source carb fuel. Innovations that have transformed cycling nutrition. It's the official sports nutrition partner to British cycling, supporting community cycling clubs right through to Olympic champions, as well as over 400 elite athletes and teams worldwide. Science in Sport, fuel trusted by champions since 1992. David Millar, from start to finish, I didn't understand anything that was going on in that stage today. I'll be perfectly honest. It started weirdly, ended super weirdly.
Yeah, and even more weirdly when we just find out it was 50.9 kilometres an hour. When I had no impression that they were in the process. Well, it's just
semi-official.
It's semi-official. It's going to be around that. It's over 50 kilometres an hour.
We should just explain. I mean, the race finished a few minutes ago, so we're recording straight away. So we're waiting for all the
not the actual
pieces.
fully official.
But if that's true, that's the fastest mass start stage in the history of the Tour de France, surpassing Mario Cipollini's stage victory in 1999, stage 4. So
and you wouldn't have thought so watching today. That's what I mean. It's a baffler, but it's
there was a bit of wind.
There was a bit of wind. There was a bit of rain at the beginning, and it was. I mean. Okay, starting out, it was definitely not the cookie cut sprinter, everyone resigns their fate day.
Can I even go further back than before the neutralised rollout, when I watched an interview with Christoph Roodhofft, the team manager of Alpecin de Koning, whose name is pronounced better than that by Belgian people. Anyway, He was asked once again about Jasper Philipsen's seeming lack of form at this year's Tour and whether or not they'd flipped the tactic. And it was put directly to him by Hannah Walker of Eurosport. Could you even conceive of a world where Jasper leads out Mathieu? Yeah. And he just went, no. We stick to plan A. And then, and he was absolutely emphatic about that, the flag dropped and who attacked first?
Mathieu van der Poel.
Yeah. What's going on there then?
I have no idea. I think he's just in the swing of it now. I think he's just enjoying it. Or perhaps he was... you know what? They didn't know what was going to happen. They knew it was a tailwind. They know it's a relatively short stage. And perhaps they've seen how the other two sprint days have went. They thought... Because the bottom line is, if he does get into the break, he doesn't have to ride. Because they've got the sprinter. So often if you've got one of the teams, and we've got Alpecin de Koning and Soudal Quickstep, who have been the two teams controlling the peloton for every sprint stage. So obviously everyone knows they're going to control the sprint stage. So if they put somebody in the breakaway, then everyone's going to go, oh, you're not going to ride, are you? Yeah. Because you control the peloton every day.
Yes, although in my mind's eye, I can't conceive of a breakaway where Mathieu van der Poel's just sitting on.
Well, I can't
imagine
That's
it.
What I mean. It kills breakaway because no one's going to do a breakaway. So he was basically kind of just slapping people around the face at the start.
The thing is, though, when someone like Mathieu van, it's like a fight in a car park in the pub of a car park pub, isn't it? Pub car park.
Go on, Ned.
Thank you. I'll get there eventually. If someone like Mathieu van der Poel starts puffing his chest out and slapping people around the face, then all of a sudden people who want to be Mathieu van der Poel start getting involved as well. And so the signal that he sent out meant that all the other hitters, started getting it. Jonas Abrahamsen as well.
Sorry, I'm just going to segue slightly.
Go on.
The funny thing is, because now I'm picturing Mathieu van der Poel in a pub car park.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty small dude.
Pub.
He's a really small dude. And he wouldn't be at all threatening. It's only in the peloton where he's got the aura to do that.
Because he's a cyclist. So he'd just be like, one punch, he'd be out on the ground.
What are you doing, mate? Yeah. Are you all right? You're looking for your dad.
Anyway.
But so it brings everyone else out. Yeah, because when you do have the hitters, when they come out to play, it's a whole new game.
Yep.
Yeah. And no matter what it is, if it's a stage like today, and that's the thing with a rider like Mathieu van der Poel, it doesn't matter when he attacks or what stage he attacks, people are going to react to it.
Yep.
And so perhaps that was one of the reasons, as you say, that all the other big names are coming out because they were like, oh, this is on.
Yeah.
And so it did fire it up and it kept it going for a while.
for a while, and then eventually it calmed down. Of course, Julien Alaphilippe reacted, didn't he? Because if there's a fight in the car park of a pub,
he's Begbie. He's pretty good at it.
He's literally Begbie from Trainspotting.
He's throwing the pint glass.
So of course, he's getting involved, and he's the only one of the hitters who actually makes the mistake of and again, with Ned and I've got into the breakaway by mistake.
Yeah, he really did, didn't he?
He really got in the breakaway by mistake on a day that doesn't suit him particularly.
He was in the break, and then I went to go and buy some M&Ms, and by the time I came back, he wasn't in the break.
Influenced by French television adverts, by the way.
100%.
Definitely influenced.
Like
The advertising works.
Peanut ones as well. Yeah. I suddenly had a craving for peanut M&Ms.
I wonder why that is.
So I hadn't even realised. That's so bad. They've indoctrinated me.
Yeah.
But by the time I came back, he was dropping back to the peloton. But he seemed to have been riding through before then.
Yeah.
So did you just decide?
Yeah.
He just literally went,
had enough. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was a little moment on the road. I think he just went, what am I doing?
Yes.
And do you know what? And this is just a detail. And we were watching French television, and it is very, very, it's funny when Julien Alaphilippe is in the race and his wife is in the commentary box.
I always think, what does she do?
Well, I know now what she does.
Nothing.
It's a self-imposed fatwa. It's like someone excised. What's the word? You remove yourself from consideration because you have a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So at one point, once he'd dropped back and been caught, Julien Alaphilippe, there was really quite a prolonged discussion between her co-commentators as to why his form appears to be at the rock bottom. and she was just sitting there going, "You're talking about my husband," but she didn't say a word.
But Vauclair put in a big stint on the motorbike about how he's still training really hard and working really hard.
Yeah, but his form's nowhere, is it?
No, it's nowhere.
Which is a shame.
It is a shame.
So that left out front Anton Scharmig, the Danish rider from Uno X, who used to ride for XDS Astana. It left Nelson Oliveira, the veteran Portuguese former time trial specialist, rouleur from Movistar, and young Mathis Lebert, who's a Breton rider from Saint-Brieuc in his second ever Tour de France. Quite a teeny tiny lad, and very much the junior partner. They put in a good ride. So this is why I'm baffled by the average speed, because there was a definite point in the middle of the race after they'd gone. Scharmig took the first climb.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the intermediate sprint behind as well, although that wasn't particularly interesting today.
Yeah.
But then the race did kind of calm down, and they were some quite experienced heads at the front. And so they did start to play games, and everything just slowed down a bit in both sides of the race, and they were being held at 1 minute 15, 1 minute 20. But they knew that over the last categorised climb, in the last 40k, 35k, they would pick up a brisk tailwind, and they played that game.
Yeah.
So over the top of the last climb, they really lit it up.
Yeah, they really did.
And the chase was intense then.
Yeah, it's still a breakaway thing. You try and trick that, because normally that time gap 1 minute is sits there, and there's a certain inevitability that the fatigue at the front is in kind of complete opposite to how they can replace and refresh riders at the front of the peloton. So it just gets closed down in the end. But if there's tailwind, once you get above 50, 55 kilometers an hour, there is this exponential kind of difference in the amount of energy when power is required to go from 55 to 60 kilometers an hour. And so if you're sitting at 55 kilometers an hour in a tailwind, then the peloton behind is having to get up to 57, 58, 59. It's actually a huge, it's like a lot different than going from 30 to 35 or 35 to 40, because there's so much air resistance. And so that's what happens often in that final bit, is that the peloton goes in complacent, thinking, well, we've still got 30 Ks as a tailwind. It's a minute gap, and then all of a sudden they're burning through riders to try and close that gap down, because it's the algorithm, the kind of arithmetic doesn't work about how they're going to do it.
It definitely messed with the chase at that point in the race, because you got a rider like teammate Jasper Philipsen and Mathieu van der Poel, brilliant at what he does, Sylvain Dillier, who he's the definition of smooth effort.
Yeah.
He will
45 kilometers an hour.
He will sit on the front at Milan-San Remo for 180 plus kilometres, all on his own. But he was used completely differently today. He was sent to the front to do something really quite explosive and bring this group back. And he looked like a different rider on the bike. You could see how fast he was going. This is when they were touching 60 kilometres an hour at points.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting point in the race, wasn't it?
But they dealt with it easily in the end.
They dealt with it easily in the end. Yeah, you're just going to dismiss that part of the race, are you?
Yeah,
not worth analysing?
Because it wasn't... Yeah.
It was a bit formulaic.
It was. I mean, even Alaphilippe threw in the towel, which I'm surprised, before they'd even got to the tailwind.
Yeah.
And then it was like, no.
I think he just wasn't enjoying himself very much.
Yeah, maybe.
Can I just say, before we get into the back end of the race, the Canal du Nivernais...
Oh, you said that on the group, yeah.
Wow. Just looks beautiful.
Okay, you're going to paint as a picture with words?
I mean,
or are you going to leave it there?
They did a drone shot over a beautiful aqueduct.
Yeah.
And kind of aqueducts, this wasn't a Roman aqueduct, and this is a 20th century aqueduct, or late 19th century aqueduct, I suspect. And it's flowing with this, gently downhill with this, canal, literally. And I find that technology, as ancient as it is, goes back thousands of years that mankind has been building aqueducts. The fact that it's still there and it still serves a purpose, I think it's just beautiful. And it just looked like a tremendous place to go on holiday. Anyway, Marion Rousse. So then the race changed direction with 15k to go, and they approached Nevers from the south, from the north, so heading south. And that headwind then, that tailwind becomes a crosswind, and then you do know it's sort of game over. The only other thing I would note about the trio who was left at the front, two things actually. The difference in the way they ride between Anton Charmig, who is ragged on a bike. He's so strong.
Yeah.
He won a stage at the Dauphiné, didn't he? A solo. But he looks really like him. And he was right on the limit. I thought he did a great ride today. And Nelson Oliveira, who's the personification of poise on a bike.
He is just poise, elegance.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
But I did feel rather sorry for Mathis Lebert, because when eventually they were caught with 5k to go, they did the usual thing, and the two big names, Charmig and Oliveira, looked for each other and did a fist bump. And Mathis Lebert was like, anyone want to fist bump me? And they just ignored him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which I thought was a bit of a shame.
That's a shame.
So then we got into sort of, once they'd been caught, and eventually they were caught with 5.6k to go, everything slowed right up.
Yeah.
Really did. They all put on the handbrake.
Yeah, I think it was, I don't know, I think perhaps it is the high speed as well. It's really hard to control, in the sense that you are, because like I was explaining before, you have such, it's so counterintuitive. You think if it was a headwind, that's going to burn through riders much more. But a tailwind, it actually can be really perilous, because you're going so fast, and then it's just, you burn through riders, and all of a sudden things can unravel incredibly quickly. And so I think everyone thought, well, actually, we're in position, we're going so far. This is the difference between a headwind and a tailwind. Because it's going so fast at the front of the peloton, you kind of hold your position, because no one's getting burned off the front. So in a headwind, it's really, the reason you kind of ride there is because if you're in the front in the wind, you get burnt through and you get thrown back. You've got to run out, you can't hold it. A tailwind, everyone can hold their position at the front. You're just cruising along at 60, 65 kilometers an hour at that point in the peloton. So they probably just all got there and thought, truce. Let's just all hold our positions.
That's exactly what it felt like, a truce.
So they just did it. But from us, it looks pretty relaxed, but they're actually going so fast.
Indeed.
And so, and then it's everyone's a lot closer together. It's all just it's really interesting, that kind of tailwind peloton phenomenon. And I think that's what happened there, was all the people who wanted to be at the front were with their teams and thought, let's not change anything. Let's just keep this going. Let's just do what we're doing. And that's what happened until there was NSN that went first.
Yeah, I mean, there was no Cofidis supercharge that we've been used to. So I think they probably would have wanted to, but the
couldn't get through.
Because
that's exactly what's happening.
2k to go almost exactly. It was the NSN explosion.
It was a proper explosion.
It was a proper explosion.
I looked, it looked like 500 metres to go.
Yeah.
And it was like 2Ks to go.
And it was Tom Van Arsbroek at first, who did an immense acceleration. It looked like a flat-out sprint.
It was.
It was a flat-out sprint. Jake Stewart holding his wheel, and Biniam Girmay in either third wheel or fourth.
He went to about fifth, I think.
He dropped back a little bit. But it was obviously for Biniam Girmay. From that moment on, I didn't really understand what was going on, David. So I'm going to just lean on you and your expert analysis now, because Jake Stewart took over. He almost opened up a gap.
He did like 600 metres, and then Abrahamsen took over from Uno X.
Again, he opened up a gap.
But again, this is all, and I guess it was going so fast as well that in the wheels it wasn't that kind of stressful. Weirdly, it was just really weird conditions, which is why it was all over the place. But then when Abrahamsen pulled off, Olav Koy was in third. Like, he had one teammate in front of him, and Olav Koy from Decathlon had his teammate started, but I guess it was like 500 meters to go, 600 meters to go. And Koy, I mean, smart. This is really smart what he did. He saw that Philipsen was next to him or on his wheel, and he also, Girmay was there, and he was like, I'm going to lead them out if I go with my teammate here. So he just made the split-second decision to let his teammate go.
Yeah.
And a gap opened, and because kind of no one had their teammates around, they'd already used them up. It was like, well, he called everyone's bluff. But meanwhile, on the right, because then at that point, everyone was starting to bunch up at the front from what had been the place. And Mathieu van der Poel had already been used up, I think, at that point.
Yep.
And Varenshold was coming back, probably thought he was well out of the race at this point.
Yeah.
And he was just coming up the right-hand side. And as he was holding his speed, and the gap was just open between the barriers and the group that was then bunching up in the middle. And he just thought, I'm going. I'll just carry on. He made that split-second decision that by this point, Olav Koi's isolated lead-out guy was about 10, 15, 20 metres in ahead. And he just went for him and then got to him and then just kept going. And at this point, it was panic stations behind. And then the sprint started off. And it was actually Philipsen who kind of cracked and went after Olav Koi's teammate first, kind of seeing once Varenshold went by, then he went after Varenshold, and Olav Koi was just using Philipsen as his lead out then.
Yeah.
So it almost worked perfectly. You know, the massive bluff that Koi had pulled, he'd forced a hand of Philipsen, jumped on his wheel, let Philipsen do all the work, and then Koi jumped off Philipsen with like 50 metres to go, 75, like so explosive. Came up to him, but they didn't catch Varenshold. And they came either side of Varenshold.
Had it been a lesser rider, that wouldn't have worked, but he's a beast.
He was a beast, but it was a photo finish basically.
If it's all kicking off in that pub car park, because everybody thinks they're just cyclists, and then Varenshold walks out the back of the pub, you go, oh, okay.
He's a serious dude.
He is. Yeah. But by far the biggest result of his career, and in the last couple of years, he has sort of turned himself from being a time trialist to something of a bunch sprinter. But he's just won a bunch sprint at the Tour de France. So chapeau to him.
Chapeau to him.
What's the top 10, David?
There you go. So Olav Koi did come round Philipsen.
Yeah.
So Varenshold, Olav Koi, Jasper Philipsen, Milan Fretten from Cofidis, Hubarts, Biniam Gramais 6th, Anthony Turgi 7th, Clement Rousseau 8th, Fernando Gaviria 9th, Pascal Ackermann 10th.
No Pedersen. He actually finished 11th. And Tim Millar, the mystery man, gone 15th.
That's really weird,
That's a story to be told, isn't it? I mean, people are just going to have to ask him what went wrong.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't on camera. We didn't see that at all.
Yeah. That was Olav Koi playing chess in a crazy sprint in the final 500 metres. Yeah. That's pretty impressive. Almost got away with it as well.
Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed our total lack of comprehension as to how stage 11 actually played out. The stage that made no sense. So now it's time for our Muk-off moment of the day, the detail, the decision or the breakthrough that helped shape the race. In the Tour, success comes from getting every detail right, including the drivetrain, where every watt counts. Since 2014, Muk-off's chain optimization program has helped World Tour teams chase measurable performance through lab testing and race-proven drivetrain prep, because wasted watts are not an option.
Olav Koi.
Yeah.
Playing his...
Well, this is the decision.
This is the decision that actually changes everything.
Sprinters, I don't even know how they do this. I mean, Cavendish was so good at it, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's I've never seen that done before. So, and it changed the whole race because he ended up getting beaten by Varenshold, but he still outplayed Philipsen. Yeah, he forced Philipsen's hand, which is, I mean, to go back and look at all that now, it was 20 seconds all of that happened in. Yep. But it seemed like it went on for ages, all of that stuff. So, Olav Koi.
Yeah,
tactical sprinting.
So sprints work on television in two different ways, like with parallel time frames, don't they? Both distance is compressed because of a head-on shot, so you think it's all scrunched up. Actually, it's being played out over tens of meters, and time is sometimes stand still, and the other times it's blink of an eye. So that's why I love bunch sprints. Actually, my again. This did change the shape of the race, but only, again, in
you're pleading here.
Teeny tiny way.
Yeah.
Well, occasionally they don't change the shape of the race at all, but this one had a very, very small influence I would like to contest. I think around about here, I'm guessing. I want to say 7 kilometres from the line or something like that, maybe a bit further out. Fernando Gaviria had a puncture and was off the back. Must have been a bit further out than that.
And he got 9th.
Well, he was top 10 in the end. But the French commentary team, quite understandably, had completely discounted his chances. They said, well, he's too close to the line, that's it. No sprint today for Fernando Gaviria. And then they weren't looking for him. No cameras were trying to see how he chased back on, so you didn't see him get back onto the peloton. There's a helicopter shot of Pogacar, just to show where he was in the group, in the yellow jersey. And blow me down if Fernando Gaviria wasn't ghosting up on the right, looking for a bit of room to get to the front. And Tadej noticed him like that, and just moved to allow him a little bit of room and just gave his bum a little bit of a tap and ushered him through like that. Nice. Former teammates, of course.
Of course.
When Tadej was super young, Fernando Gaviria was part of the UAE team. And even for an experienced and top pro like Fernando Gaviria, I think if you have Tadej Pogacar just ushering you through
Yeah.
and almost wishing you all the best. And go on, go off and win the sprint. I think that would give you wings a little bit.
I would.
Change the shape of the race. He finished top 10.
It did. It knocked Pedersen out the top 10.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So that was Muk-off's Moment of the Day, brought to you by Muk-off's Chain Optimization Program, helping riders and teams optimize drive-train performance through science, data and rigour. Head to mukoff.com and enter the code FTLOC20 to get 20% off their performance range. Now, in the second half of today's pod that we recorded earlier on this morning in Vichy, we had a very, very special guest and someone who I know sits very deeply in the hearts of cycling fans all across the world. I'm not going to introduce him. You're just going to have to find out for yourself who he is. Well, as you can see, we're down here close to the start line in Vichy and we're joined by a very special guest. Romain Bardet has already been out on his bike early in the morning with him.
Yeah.
How did that go, David?
It was good. I mean, at about an hour, we hit the last climb. I didn't know it was the last climb at the time. And I was starting to get stretched. And then Romain must have sensed and he said, this is the last climb. And then everything was better from there on in.
Yeah. It's not a really hilly area, so it was okay in the end, you know. I don't live far from here, but it's really what we call it's pretty flat around here.
Yeah. It's not really flat though, is it?
The further you go north, the flattish it gets. But obviously, it was really a nice time trial area there. Some locals like Rémi Cavagna, they like to come this way. You know,
He's from Clermont-Ferrand.
We are from the same town. We are 40 k away from Clermont-Ferrand north, but the northern you get, the less interesting it's also.
Now you're here working for television. You're on the back of a motorbike for Eurosport. Are you enjoying that role?
Yeah, it's 3 years in a row now. It's super cool. I mean, it's a very nice sport to watch the race and also trying to spot things that maybe you can't really see on the screen. Obviously, being in the convoy behind the race, the riders is very interesting, and I felt like also using what I've learned, I saw from my previous experience as a rider, and now getting more so involved in the general team environment. It's really interesting to have this role to make some bridges. Yeah,
it's very cool, the motorbike reporting role.
Cool.
You did it a few times.
I did it in London
back in the UK.
3 times maybe.
Do you know what? It reminds me of like the origins of the Tour de France.
Yeah.
Before television
totally
pictures,
does.
That's how they reported the Tour de France.
On the radio.
And the motorbikes on the radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which means you could also make up a lot of things that didn't really happen because you could invent stuff because nobody really knew what happened in those days.
Not true. The thing is, the more challenging thing is you don't have the complete overview, like if you're sitting in your sofa watching the television. So sometimes you are maybe a bit stuck in the convoy and you don't really know what's going on in the front of the race. But it's also trying to focus on one thing and then give more insight as you can, and also relate them to the dynamic of the race on a certain parcours and stuff like this. Yeah.
Some coffees have arrived. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Romain, how many years now since you retired?
It's been now 13 months, I would say, something like this.
Yeah. Of course, you're not retired. You're still racing in the
I call this, somewhere in between.
It's like the halfway house.
I mean, somewhere in between. I mean, it's super good because I could also stop my kind of athlete life in my own terms,
Yeah.
Also working with friends, a really nice brand, best brand on the market, and it's been an amazing year. Also more time to travel with the family, going from places to places, riding my bike with no pressure. And still I love to also push it, so I got some stimulus from some races, and now it was really a nice year.
He's being modest, isn't he? I looked at his results in the gravel.
I mean, coming from the World Tour, it's like, for me, it's more about, I still love the pain, the race dynamic, but it's not about chasing any kind of glory now in gravel. I knew my time come to an end with the road. It's just, it's still a good feeling to feel good, fit, healthy, And sometimes I lost a bit of maybe in the last years some kind of self-confidence because I got hurt in the World Tour on some races, like you see for many guys now in the Tour de France. When you're supposed to be a GC guy, then you can, you struggle, you get dropped. And now I can also finish, with a good feeling. So I enjoy it.
It was really interesting when we spoke at the beginning of the year about this, was because often when you get to the end of your career, and a rider like Romain and me and many others, it's a descending spiral. Yes. And you don't really enjoy it at the end, and that's one of the reasons you stop, because you fall out of love with it. You're basically getting your head kicked in at every race, and all the stuff you loved about it gets knocked out of you, and you end like that, and it's a really kind of sad ending. And it was really interesting to see Romain decide he didn't want to end it like that. So he went into gravel to have one sort of transition year to rediscover being able to play in races, to have fun, to do it on his terms. So, I say we supported him with Factor with that, and Rafa as well, and some other people. And it's just been good being kind of watching him do that, because it's something I wish I'd done when I stopped, because it took me years to get back on the bike.
On the other hand, I know it wasn't Romain's last race, but it was close to the end. In Italy, I mean, what a way to sort of put a full stop really on your road racing career. The memories of that day must be wonderful to reflect on.
Yeah, it's been good for sure, especially the way it happened with Frank Vandenbroek. This connection, Frank also deserved all the credits to, just being able to put it all together on that day with him on his first ever Tour de France, first stage in the front, struggling a bit in the break, finding this second breath while I was jumping across and then pushing in all the way to the line. And for me, it was more about, trying to find also joy in this Tour de France again, because in some years I found it's never been easy, but I got used to an upward trajectory for my first 5-6 years. And since 2019, something kind of broke down a bit. And the last, I got some really low moments. And so to finish it off, I knew beforehand it would be my last Tour de France. To finish it off also with something special was also good to close the circle.
Picked up the newspapers.
Yeah.
L'Equipe, obviously, bad luck. Football didn't really go France's way. Did you watch the match?
Yeah, we watched the second half. We went pretty late in the hotel, but obviously, this is sport, but I mean,
You've won enough. The French national football team have won enough. I'm not interested.
It's like you're getting to feel what English football fans feel.
There was something special about this team.
There's something very special about this team.
Also, we got access now with all the social to some inside story about this team, and there was good vibe coming out from this team. And obviously it's just 1.5 hours of playing, running after a ball, so it can go both ways. And
there's another newspaper here, La Semaine de l'Allier, which is from the region, and this big newspaper here, where is it? La Montagne, which is the newspaper, the Centre de France, isn't it?
Yes.
Now then, you had a quick look inside.
It's our local newspaper.
Page 3. Look at that picture.
At this.
There we go.
Look at this.
Romain Bardet.
100% sur Sioule. Yes. 2013, yes, my first ever Tour de France.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think it's the day before I lost 10 minutes on GC on a crosswind. Yeah. And that was amazing. And it started in Corsica.
Yeah.
You don't know what to expect on the first Tour de France, and was an amazing memory.
Yeah. I mean, you started your career in the era of the crushing domination of Team Sky and Chris Froome every single year, and you finished it having to race Jonas Vingegaard and Tadej Pogacar. That's not fair, is it? I mean, you were in the mix with some really exceptional eras. Yeah,
but I feel really lucky that I could do most of my career with, in the 2010s something. Because back in that day, if you have the motivation, the potential, and the will to always push yourself further, you could get there. In terms of mental dedication. I feel like there were not so much structure around pro cycling. So if you were keen to push your own boundaries in terms of starting things that maybe your competitor were not doing, like altitude, having a proper look at nutrition and stuff. You could really make good steps and take advantage. And nowadays it's more like already all the teams are on super high level in terms of development, and it's more about how you can mentally handle all the everything that comes around that, and
I think that's why people loved watching you race. The mental side of it, your fortitude, your strength of mind, your attacking spirit, all those things I think people really identified with. And when I think of, I don't know what you think, David, Romain's great victories at Paris-Roubaix, for example, great days in the mountains. But for me, the most Romain Bardet memory is the time trial in Marseille. So for context, you were defending, you'd finished second in 2016 overall. Next year, you wanted to finish on the podium again, but it finished with this long, flat time trial in Marseille, and you had to defend, and it was really close.
Yeah, but the goal was to try to win the Tour de France. So for me, it doesn't really matter if I finished third or fourth in the end, because I felt I also it wasn't happy Tour de France even if I would have finished fourth, because I felt I was stronger. I really stepped up from the year before, which was a bit of surprise to finish second, because it was also I was in the mix around the 5 best guys in the race, but I could really take advantage on them on one particular stage. But in 2017, I really stepped up, and I was probably I could match Chris Froome in the mountains, and I went really all out, and also took a lot of risk in the preparation. I was really on the edge, and I fall a bit sick in the last weekend. That's why I was completely empty by the end. But me, I'm always keen to take risk, and so it was more about how do you approach the race, and it was, for me, also the whole process, because when you finished 1 year in the podium in the Tour, then you have to prove yourself much more the year after. So for me, I was very proud of that ride anyway, even if I completely failed on the last time trial.
Oh, you didn't. You didn't. You turned yourself inside out and you held onto your podium spot by 1 second in the end. Yeah. David, do you think without Thibaut Pinot and Romain Bardet, there would be Paul Sexas? Because this generation were kind of like they're pathfinders for the general classification, for this mission, this unsatisfied mission. Talk about England and the World Cup and football. What about France and the Tour de France? That's a long, long wait,
I think it's really interesting, actually, because I hadn't really thought of it like that. But when you look at through that dominance of the Team Sky era, and there had been blocks of dominance up to then, and the French cycling had been, like many countries, had been fairly pummeled by this Anglo-Saxon kind of new way of doing things, and the romanticism was gone, and it became almost kind of glorious failure for a lot of French riders, and and then Romain came in, and I think Romain in particular, there was an aggressive racing. We'd never had a climber who descended really well. That was what was super cool with Romain, and I think that's really inspiring. So you hear it about young riders coming through, they like exciting bike races. That's what inspires them. So I do think, and Pinot as well in his own way, in his kind of rogue attacks, but that was more classic, sort of French, glorious, going all in. Whereas Romain, he was getting podium at the Tour. He was actually getting results. He was a climber who could descend and looked really good on the bike. And those are things that, I think they probably did inspire kind of a whole generation. So,
We don't know how the Tour de France is going to end for Paul Sexas. We're sort of halfway through. Some really big days so far in the Pyrenees, and in stage 11 as well. That was a brutal day. What do you make of his race so far? Are you as impressed as David is? Because David's been absolutely blown away by Paul Sexas on debut. Do you feel similarly just super impressed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he also made quite some steps, and he progressed a lot in terms of how he's dealing with the race, with his emotions. He's really calm. He's really racing like he had already 10 years experience. He's not making any, don't waste any energy. He shows he already has the level to compete for the podium so far. And anyway, everything what he can do this year is just bonus, because he was not supposed really to come at such a young age to ride the Tour at such a high level. So he should just enjoy it and it's a good relearning process for him, because for sure the Pogacar is so far way better. I think Vingegaard probably also, but he's gonna also learn a lot from his opponents that he will gonna fight for the next 10 years. Guys like Juan Ayuso, Isaac Del Toro, Remco will be still. But so I think so far him and his team, they're doing a really good job.
Of course, he races for your old team. It's sometimes you have to remember that AG2 à la Mondiale is now Decathlon CSM CGM. Is that right? CSM? I don't know.
CMA CGM.
Thank you. But it is not really your old team. The old people that you worked for and with, they've gone, they've moved on. So it's part of a project that is evolving now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the top management for sure changed, but at least on the people that make this team also behind the scene, I would say there was around still 50% on the people.
From the old setup.
Yeah. They couldn't make that, that switch from the good old classic, really good old French team to now, I think we have a lot of international rider, some best sprinter in the world, and some world-class teammates, and also on the staff. I don't think they hired much French people. There was a lot of Anglo-Saxon experts, and it's now they are sitting fourth in the UCI ranking, and it's good to see a French team up there.
And you talked to Romain at the beginning of this year. Obviously, we talked about you're doing this transition year, of kind of just figuring everything out, keeping kind of falling back in love with cycling, giving yourself a bit of bandwidth. But it turns out now you're actually kind of making a giant leap back into a pretty serious job, which is kind of, so it's head of sports at Decathlon, at the team. Can you tell people what that's going to involve?
That's going to involve it's mostly taking care of the rider development in this team. But that means, it comes from the agreement we can sign, the sporting project we decide together. And then it's also I will be in charge and responsible to put the right people at the right place to make sure on a daily basis we focus and stick to what we decide. So it's a pretty big role, but on the other hand, I know that I have really good people around, and the team is here to grow and to stay on the long time. So it's about, we feel like there are already some really nice stones that have been set, and we want to grow even further to not only retain the best talent in the world, but to make sure also with our development structure we are there for the next 10 years as a really good team.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for taking him out for a ride, and thanks for putting up with this incredibly noisy drill that's behind us. I hope you haven't heard it too badly at home, but it's kind of like melting my ears at the moment. So anyway, here's your chance to get involved. Your chance to win a 3-month supply of Beta Fuel from Science and Sport, the dual source revolution that changed cycling performance. Just post and share a photo of you and your bike on Instagram, tagging #ScienceandSports and #ForTheLoveOfCycling, and telling us why you're inspired by the Tour de France. For the Love of Cycling is sponsored by Science and Sport, the fuel of choice for some of the leading riders in the Tour de France over the last 40 years.